Well, hello, my friends. Um, I wanted to talk with you a little bit about what we're working on today and the steps that we will need to do to get today's work done. We're really moving into um, academic proficiencies at this point. So, although we've done a lot of reading of articles and responding, we're now going to think about responding in a more academic way or in ways that you might find to be more common in an academic setting. So the material that you're reading for this project is called Why Johnny Can Never Ever Read. The Perpetual Literacy Crisis and Student Identity. And that's by Bronwyn Williams. So Bronwyn is going to address a lot of the ideas that you saw with John McWhorter, right? What it addresses maybe a little bit more, a little differently, is this idea of the power of literacy or cultural power that it brings. And they'll bring up some examples of how knowledge of certain, or being literate of certain materials, I'm thinking of Shakespeare, allows us some kind of like, I'm going to use the word like cultural clout or cultural understanding, just to give you some different words. And it will talk about these kind of ideas that I think are important. So so I'll let you think about those and read the article. I don't want to just summarize it for you, but I do want to talk about how to get through it. So this article could look a little more daunting because its language is a little more challenging, but there's some ways to break those barriers when you see something that seems a little bit more challenging. So if you look at this article, you'll be able to see it doing certain things. There's some headers, some section breaks. Make sure that you're taking a look at it and breaking it apart, because I'm going to be asking you to do some more academic work. So not only will you be reading this article, you'll also be annotating it. So annotation and annotating and annotated bibliography, all words that are kind of talking about the same practice of being able to take a piece of material like this article from Williams and being able to annotate it or pick it apart or clarify what different sections mean. The difference between what it's saying, what it means, because those can be two different things. It could be saying one thing but means something different. And then why it matters or the value within it. So if you scroll down on Blackboard here, you'll see that we've given you some ways to start thinking about annotating. I've also seen annotation in when there's two columns, and on one side it says what it says, and on the other side you say what it means. Or on one side you're defining what the material is, and on the other side you're responding. So when you have a question or you want to kind of counter that idea. So there's a lot of different ways to annotate. I've given you one way to be able to do that, but you can annotate in a way that is useful to you to really understand what's happening in the article. We're trying to get you to think about arguments, counter arguments, points, response to the article. So a lot of times when we respond to an article, and what we've done so far is we've asked you to read it and then just kind of write about it or respond to it. This time I'm actually asking you to respond within the text, right? So actually do that physical work of annotating. So taking, maybe highlighting areas or marking where you have a question, or again, thinking about these ideas of what it's saying, meaning, or why it matters. So you need to read it, and then you need to annotate it, and then you also need to respond. And so the response, there are some things that I want to talk about with the response, in that there's a couple different ways you can do this. So you can create your own response, and then people can read it. Or you could actually respond to somebody else's response. But if you do that, I am asking it still to have like a chunky kind of robust response, right? Or a counter, so something against it, or an agreement where you're specifically digging at something that you within the article that is interesting or valuable or that you dislike. It could be something that it can be either one of those things, right? So I would like you to do that. Again, this is that portion when we start to deal with text where we're trying to pick apart at the text. So these kind of notes for your annotation, your annotative notes on the article. I mean, some people are going to print it up and handwrite. You can do that. You could also, it's in Google. You could put it into a Google Doc, and Cami is something that you can use, and you can highlight and annotate that way. But or you could have a notebook and you could write notes that way. There's lots of different ways to do it. You find one that works best for you. I tend to note in my experience with student writing that highlighting is the least useful. You really have to question the text or think about the text or a comment to the text to really make it worthwhile. Highlighting doesn't really mean anything to you unless you've got a system of highlighting. So I do know some people who use like a color system. Like I'm going to highlight everything that I question in pink, and I'm going to highlight everything I don't agree with in yellow. So if you have a system of highlighting, that sometimes can work, but highlighting itself is not the best way and is not truly what I consider an annotation. But I want you to be able to work within a way that works for you. And I want you to practice the practice of annotating, because this was really super important. So you may like this article, you might not like this article. This article may be difficult, it may be easy, but we're trying to get to picking apart this article to really understand it well. And this is a really important step to be able to do when you want to respond to writing. And that's kind of what we're going to do next, is we're going to do a draft of a literacy narrative. And so we really kind of have to know this material to be able to do that. Anyway, your response, the reading is due by Monday, August 5th, and the questions of the claims and the discussion, it says, question the claims in the article in a discussion forum called Question the Claims. That's shocking, right? That's a really amazing title. And that's due on Tuesday, August 6th. Hopefully this is helping. I hope you're doing a good job. Keep it up, and we'll move on from here. Talk to you later. Bye.